Hi, thank you for coming back to see me again. And today is step 5. Step 5 is the easiest and the hardest step there is in the program of AA. Step 5 is the step that I thought I would never do. Step 5 is the step that scared me the most. I literally looked through the steps when I first came into the program and said, okay, fair enough, never doing that one, fair enough. The one I said I'm never doing, step 5. It was the easiest step to do. It was the hardest emotionally to prepare for. And it was also where my obsession with drinking and using left me. And I'd heard other people say this too. So it was huge for me, step 5. I can't explain it, but after I'd done this kind of really hard thing, I didn't want to drink every day anymore. I still occasionally wanted to, but it wasn't there every day. It lifted. And it was a miracle. It was a miracle. It's not a religious program, but it was a miracle. Because I never went a day without using and drinking for years. And step 5 was the one where it left me on a daily basis. Step 5 is admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Now remember, God can be anything to you. It's your higher power. It's whatever we decided it was in step 3. Whatever your higher power is can work for God in this. To ourselves, we admitted it to ourselves when we wrote out step 4, and to another human being. So step 5 is really reading your step 4 to another human being. There was stuff I never wanted to tell anyone. And I'm sure there is for you as well. There's people have messaged me saying, I'm never going to write this stuff down. But this is where the recovery is, and it's hard. You have to dig. Remember we talked about digging deep? This is digging deep. My sponsor, I told him there was stuff I was never going to tell anyone. Because I was too ashamed, I was too embarrassed. And he said, okay, on your step 4, write your step 4 that you're okay to share, and the step 4 that you'd never tell anyone. Then, why didn't I see this coming? He said, bring both of those lists to your step 5 meeting when you tell me. Why did I bring the one that I wasn't going to tell anyone? I've got no idea. Of course, he made me read the one I wasn't going to tell anyone first. Little guy. Anyway, it worked. So, as I pulled out my list that I was never going to tell anyone, I thought, when I tell him this stuff, he's not going to want to know me anymore. He's not going to want to be my sponsor anymore. I did some bad things. And when I was using, I was in blackout. One of the things that I was really scared to tell anyone was, oh, God, I'm telling you now. I'm telling loads more people. But now I've been in the program, I think it can only help me to get this stuff out. So one of my step 5s, the one I wasn't going to tell anyone, was one time, oh God, deep breath. I drove from my house to my studio, high and drunk. I could have killed someone. I didn't kill anyone, but I hit multiple cars on the way from my house to the studio. And I was so out of it, I hid my car behind some bushes so no one would ever find out. And it was a terrible thing to do, and I felt awful about it. I felt so bad, and I felt so scummy. Like, I just hated myself for doing that. That was one of the things I was never going to tell anyone. There are a few things on there, but I remember that was the first one, so I'm getting this out with you guys now. Don't tell anyone. Oh. No, I mean, later in the program, we have to make amends for these things. So I did deal with it later on. But at this stage in my recovery, I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought, am I in trouble? Is he going to make me go and tell the police what I did? And I was petrified to tell him. I just blurted it out. But he didn't judge me because he had done stuff like that. He had done worse stuff than that. And he was like, I don't know why you were so worried. We all do incredible, terrible things in our drinking. And we're here to uncover, discover and discard. And he told me something he'd done which was way worse. And immediately I felt relief and like, oh, I'm not the horrible person. I've been carrying this around for years, this guilt and this shame. And it all went. When he told me his story that he had, it lifted. And I was like, oh, there's a solution. I can make amends for what I'd done. I can make it right. I don't have to live with this guilt anymore. And this guilt was making me drink. The shame was making me drink and use because I couldn't deal with myself. So then I realized this is all the stuff that's making me use and drink. All these little things I've written down, especially the stuff on this list that I wasn't going to tell anyone. So that was good, cathartic, made me give me a little bit of self-worth back, like I can make amends for this, I can make this right. So it took 2 3-hour meetings, I'd say, to go through my step 4 with my sponsor. It was very emotional. I cried, he cried, some of it. It's crazy to cry with another guy, you know. That was really intense. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe sitting in this guy's flat, just 2 guys trying to get sober. And it just made me feel so amazing that this guy was willing to give up his time and be so emotional and be so vulnerable with me and tell me all this stuff that he'd done for nothing. I couldn't believe it. It was like, this is free. This recovery stuff is free. This guy's giving of his time to help me. And it was really touching and really amazing. It was incredible to me, and it really touched my heart that this guy was trying to help me with no benefit to himself. Now I realise he was getting benefit because I was helping him stay sober, but at the time I didn't realise that. So as I was telling him these things, he was noticing these things are popping up in a lot of these step 4 entries. Self-esteem. You have low self-esteem. You're either grandiose or you're comatose. You're either big-headed or you feel less than. This is constantly recurring in this step 4. I'm seeing this theme. I'm seeing the theme of being dishonest, lying. He was then aware, okay, Stephen has these things that are recurring. These are problems for him. And they went in his head. He got a real good impression of what my inner life is like, what my demons are. He knew from all these step 4, me telling him all this stuff, he would go, okay, so Stephen struggles with selfishness. He's been self-seeking. Basically, he gets a picture of what I'm like and what is going to trip me up and make me use. So it's incredibly helpful. And then he tells me, and I get an idea. And this is like a roadmap of my addiction right in front of me. I'm like, oh my God, this is why I used. This shit here is why I used. So it's incredible. And that, once I shone a light on it, the desire left. Didn't leave completely, but it left from being a daily thing. And that was big for me. That was big. That's it. That's step 5. That's it. Sit down with your sponsor, tell them all your step 4. Sounds easy, doesn't it? And it is easy. It's just getting over the shame and the guilt of some of this stuff. But this is where the recovery really starts. This was one of the most important steps for me, 5. Because I was very closed. I was a very closed person. I didn't let anyone in. I still struggle with that. I don't want anyone getting in. I don't want to tell anyone anything that's really going on. I just want to be, everything's fine, happy and positive. And I don't want people to see that I get depression. I do suffer from mental health stuff, quite a lot of things. I never want to talk about that. And this was the first time I did it. And yeah, this was an amazing step. And I encourage you to do it. Let me know if you do it. Let me know what your experience is with step 5. Let me know how you're getting on. I love to read. I can't respond to all the messages, but I really do read them all. I really do. And I really appreciate you leaving me such encouragement. And it's great to know that you're getting something out of this. And I love that you guys are with me on this journey. And as I always say, thank you for helping me stay sober, because speaking to you helps me. Overwhelmingly, a lot of you said don't start the Zoom meeting. It's too much too soon. I agree with you, so thank you, because I probably would have done that. So you helped me with that. So let's get to some questions. Send your questions to Stephen Hilton, Stephen with a PH, Hilton 23 on Twitter, at Stephen Hilton 23. So I can look at them. Gatina Girl says, what's your opinions on low alcohol or non-alcoholic beers and wines for an alcoholic? Can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to tell anyone else what to do, but if I'm in recovery, 12-step recovery is abstinence based, so I can't drink any alcohol. We as a group don't think you should have any mind-altering substances. That includes medication that, like Xanax, and because I went out on Xanax and pain medication, sleeping tablets. The rooms that I'm in and the people I know, they all say you can't do that, and I agree, because you can't really be sober if you're under the influence of anything. Also, why would you not want to get the benefit of all these steps? You can't do the steps when you're under the influence because they won't work, because you have to be really present and really connected. So to do these steps, you do have to be abstinent from mind-altering substances. A lot of people this week, actually too many to mention, I don't know why it's all this week, but a lot of people have said to me, will the steps work on other mental health issues? Depression, anxiety, OCD. I can't speak for AA. I think they will. The steps have helped me with my depression. I suffer from depression. I get it a lot. And when I'm in the steps, I don't get it so much because I'm not thinking so much about myself and I'm trying to give back. And that, for me, just for me, really sorts out my depression. My second time in recovery, I called my sponsor and said, I've got an idea. I'm going to go on antidepressants again because I'm depressed. And he said to me, before you do that, I want you to go and do a thing called H&I, which is where you go into hospitals and institutions. So you go into prisons, hospitals, kids wards for suicidal teenagers and stuff like that. And you go into these places and you tell these people your story. So first one I went to a psych ward, and I'd ended up on a psych ward from my drinking and using. So first one I went in and I did a meeting along with 4 other people to these. It was so sad that these people were really broken, really. It was really intense. And we just went in there just for an hour to try and give them a bit of a story about being in a 12-step recovery program. And I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go, and I was scared, and I thought it was going to be weird and horrible. And it was weird and horrible. But at the end of that meeting, I didn't feel depressed. It was weird. It was such an intense experience. And by the end of it, I was so worn out by the experience, and I felt so good that I'd pushed through that barrier and done it. And I had self-esteem. I'd done an esteemable thing, so I got self-esteem. So that really worked for my depression. So that's an example of 12-step working for me for depression. Absolutely. And I'm pretty sure that this kind of deep searching and realizing what we are like can only help with mental health, with all things. It's helped me. So I hope that helps you guys. Step 6 next week. I love you guys. Thank you for helping me stay sober.